I called you, and it sounded like somebody answered, but there was no voice. I kept going, hello?
I'd like to open the public hearing for solar array amendment, code amendment. We have a lot of people here. A lot of people want to talk, so we're going to limit it to 3 minutes. When the buzzer goes off, please put the mic down.
Ed Kukowski.
Look at you going first, nice and early.
I don't know how that happened.
Alphabetical order.
Are you a Chiefs or a Lions fan? That's all I want to know. Chiefs.
Well, I'm here I'm opposed to these large solar power generating facilities. That's why I'm here, being installed in any residential area in Wilton whatsoever. These large, I'm an engineer, retired, I've been in heavy industry. I worked at the cement plants, and all the way from here, all the way down to Catskill. We have high-powered systems like these solar systems are. They are not low-powered. They're heavy industrial equipment, very high voltage, and very dangerous equipment. They're industrial equipment. I call them industrial electrical generating plants who are using solar energy. There are other industrial electrical plants that are out there that are in history. Nuclear, gas, oil. This really isn't any different. It's an electrical generating plant that just happens to use solar as a fuel as opposed to nuclear or gas. So it's a heavy industrial piece of equipment, and I do not believe it should be in any residential area. One of the other things about it is they're very large in size, and when they fail very big. So that's another reason that I'm very concerned about it. Also, it's new technology in a lot of ways, and the facilities have no real long-term history. As an engineer in industry, when we would consider new technologies in an industry like our cement industry, it had to be something that was equivalent to what we were using and that already had a long-term history of success. It's not just enough for theory or tests by engineering groups. It had to be out there in industry at our scale before it was acceptable. And these solar farms have not really gotten that type of history, I feel, to be near any residential area. And one of the things that needs to be developed is the specifications and requirements. Now, it wasn't that long ago that a solar facility was proposed very near all of our homes on Knollwood. And bad enough, it was right next to our neighbors' backyards. But I just went on, just the other day while I was coming over here, I thought, what about the regulations on this? And I realized that this proposed solar, it was Quaker something it was called. It was only also 1/3 of a mile from Dorothy Nolan Elementary School. So that's a very good example of why these specifications need to be developed.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Thank you. Alicia Leglin, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Alicia Legland. I'm a renewable energy attorney. I represent Galehead Development as well as many other solar wind developers permitting projects across the state. The proposed changes to the solar law are fairly prohibitive. The town is proposing to prohibit Tier 3 and Tier 4 solar projects from residential districts and imposing a 500-foot setback from residential districts and non-participating occupied residences for projects even in permissive zoning districts. It's difficult to find a reason for such a significant setback other than a concern about viewshed impacts. Once operational, solar projects are silent and don't produce odors or emissions. You wouldn't know it was there if you couldn't see it. So it seems the reason behind the significant increase in the requisite setback is to prevent solar projects from being seen. But the problem is that no other land use is regulated based on whether or not you can see it. It's an unfair standard. Residential, commercial, and industrial land uses are not regulated with setbacks to prevent them from being seen. And solar projects should not be held to a different standard. And in any event, developers are often required to screen solar projects to a reasonable degree and are usually happy to do so, making a 500-foot setback unnecessary and likely unattainable. Additionally, solar projects are considered public utilities under New York law, and a municipality cannot zone out a public utility from its boundaries. If Tier 3 and Tier 4 solar projects are prohibited in all zoning districts and cannot meet an unreasonably restrictive setback requirement in the districts where they are permitted, then such projects are essentially being zoned out.
Thank you.
Julia Friedman.
Good evening, my name is Julia Friedman, and I am here to represent Galehead Development, the applicant for the Quaker Springs project. Sorry, better? Yes. Great. My name is Julia Friedman. I am here to represent Galehead Development, the applicant for the Quaker Springs project located near Perry Road. Galehead is requesting that the Code Revisions Committee provide revisions to the Solar Energy Systems Code. We believe that certain aspects of the proposed language are prohibitive towards solar development, such as the proposed setbacks of 200 to 500 feet, which seem restrictive and not consistent with New York model solar energy local law. The model law suggests a 100-foot setback for Tier 3 solar energy systems within residential districts. Our initial permit application for the Quaker Springs project outlined setbacks of 40 feet and adhered to the conventional parcel zoning and setback criteria. We would like to propose a standard setback of 100 feet to mirror the NYSERDA model solar energy law. Transitioning from 40 feet to 100 feet setbacks marks a substantial enhancement in viewshed mitigation. We've included additional screening and mitigation measures to provide viewshed for neighbors and members of the public. Solar is a non-invasive, non-polluting, clean, sustainable neighbor and has the potential to increase the public health and welfare of the community. Solar supports local businesses, schools, residents, and local jobs, especially during construction. Once operational, there is no light, sound, fumes, or pollution produced and is considered a silent neighbor. The construction of a solar project is like sticking toothpicks into a cake and lasts only about 3 to 4 months. Posts are drilled into the ground and do not change the fabric of the local environment and landscape. This project puts no strain on town resources such as fire or water. At the end of its useful life, this project will be decommissioned and the property returned to its natural state, unlike residential development, which would be permanent. Galehead is committed to working collaboratively with the town. We will provide comprehensive simulations and renderings showcasing that the solar facility is non-intrusive from 100 feet away. Our proposed screening, along with natural vegetation and existing obstructions such as billboards, already shield residents and provide a negligible impact on viewshed. It is our intention to build a project that services the entire community and provides you all with a number of great benefits. Over the course of 25 years, the project will bring about $700,000 in tax revenue. If the project is extended for another 10 years, that number would surpass $1 million straight to the town. Thank you for your time. We look forward to working together with you and its residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sean Brazo.
My name is Sean Brazo. I'm the president of Seaboard Solar. We're the company that has a pending proposal for a solar farm off Loudon Road. We participated to the extent allowable in providing information to your Solar Code Revision Committee. Among that information was a detailed analysis of areas within the town of Wilton that were even possible for Tier 3 solar. There are 2 locations in Wilton suitable for Tier 3 solar that haven't already received a permit. There aren't any more after that. There's no risk of the town being overrun by solar. The removal in the most recent version of the solar code that removes residential, and in particular R2, was not, as I understand it, in the original document passed over by the Solar Code Committee. It was changed at some later date. It's my understanding that was changed because there's a protest from a group of people on Loudon Road against that system. and their reasons for that protest are, there's really about 5 reasons that they're quoting, none of which are actually supportable. The system itself is going to be set so far back into that site that nobody's going to see it. There's no danger from the system, et cetera, et cetera. You're going to hear a number of people talk about the benefits of solar tonight, and I'm not going to bore you with it. However, the removal of residential to zoning eligibility for Tier 3 solar means that benefits that would flow to the rest of the town are not going to flow to the rest of the town. We have petitions from 80 some odd people in town who are in favor of keeping R2 in your zoning code. Those have been going over the last several weeks to your town supervisor. Additionally, there are letters that have gone. I know there are a number of supporters here tonight. The opposition will tell you that everyone in town is against solar and that everybody in that area of Loudon Road is against solar. It's not accurate. Best case, it's about 50-50 as we've canvassed the entire area. So you've got half the people that are abutters that are opposed, and you've got half of the people that support it. So the board's got to make a decision who to support in this case. On top of that, you've got petitions, and I can tell you there's been a dialogue, for lack of a calmer term, on social media for the last several weeks on nextdoor.com and on Facebook. And I went through and counted comments this morning, and about 65% of those people that are weighing into that argument are in favor. So the facts in front of the board are that you've got a plurality of support for solar in this town and in that particular area. You have New York State priorities that encourage you to drive this, and your own town comprehensive plan.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Could everybody please be respectful of whoever is at the microphone? Whether you're for, against, or whether you don't give a crap, please.
Thank you.
Absolutely correct.
It's about everybody getting a turn to
Dave
speak.
DeBay? Oops, sorry, Dave. Started you.
Cut him short. He's long-winded.
I'm glad to see a turnout. The town needs public input to affect change. Often we hear, hey, how could this happen in our town? Well, to affect policy, everybody's got a voice and opinion. Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, that's what makes this country where it is. So we need to listen without malice or predetermination. We need to apply logical, factual, intellectual decision by both the residents and the town board. This is how we move forward. This is how we make policy. Originally, I was against all solar in any residential, period. That changed when I was asked to sit on Ray's committee to rewrite the verbiage and policy. It's my opinion that each project must make sense and stand on its own merit, not to have a blank painting it with a wide paintbrush. The town board is a fail-safe mechanism, and that is the power of the town board. In committee, we incorporated this 500-foot statute. You already heard the solar people don't like that, all right? But that's what we did to give extra protection for those residents. You're not going to see it. It's invisible. This is triple other municipalities. This protects the neighborhood's sacred right to peaceful enjoyment of your homestead. That's what this country's about. This particular project, no noise, no cars, no town roads to maintain or plow. It's an invisible, quiet neighbor. I like that. The alternative is, yeah, another damn development. And that's a particular choice that the residents have to make who live next door. Particularly me, I'd rather have an invisible, quiet neighbor than another development with school buses, noise, traffic, and all that entails. As always, the elephant in the room at all our planning board meetings is the same. Wilton's growing too fast. What can we do about it? We need to put the brakes on. I asked the board, does this sound familiar? I know it does. At this junction, the board has a decision to make. Take each project at its merit. Don't paint everything with a broad paintbrush. Use fact, logic, and best practice. Create a silent, invisible neighbor that adds power, and the project removes the acreage so a developer can develop it. If this project is scrapped, make no mistake, there will be another development next to the neighbors that object to the solar farm. More buses, more lots of habitat and density. If this is the case, those same people that are objecting have no merit or recourse to complain about, hey, I got another development next door. How did that happen? Well, that's how it happens. So I'm asking the board to consider each case on its merit. And by the way, I don't drive a Prius, I don't own a Tesla. I like muscle cars, horsepower, and octane. Thank you for your time and opportunity to voice my opinion.
Thank you.
Tish Benacasa? Oops, I'm sorry, Miss Stephen Madison. I'm sorry.
So who's Stephen Madison?
What's his last name?
I'm a resident on Edie Road, and I too was first against this, but when I started learning about it, by the way, I'm Steve Madison. I started learning about it. I saw that all the information, or much of the information that was put out on Nextdoor was pretty much of opinion and not of fact. And I started looking in and questioning some of these things, and I finally changed my mind that I don't think this is a bad idea at all to happen. This land is going to be developed. A cul-de-sac could go in there. These trees are going to get cut down regardless, one way or another. To me, a solar farm allows vegetation to grow there, allows wildflowers to grow there, allows animals to live around it. It's not going to take any resources from the water in Wilton, and it won't take any resources from the services that residents require. I don't have any problem. My home will be about 1,400 feet from the closest solar panel. I'm not going to see it. I'm not going to hear it. I don't have a problem. This thing's going to be tucked away. No one is even going to know it's there. It's going to provide a big benefit. Let's face it, the country is going electric, and we are going to be behind the times if we are not going to support this. This is, whether you like it or not, this is progress. This is the way the country is going. We're all going to have an electric vehicle someday. You think your gas-powered vehicle is going to be here for the next 50 years? It's not going to happen. I see people shaking their head. This is progress. People have to adapt to change. This is a lot of people who just are fearful of change, and I think that's the problem that's going on here. In terms of fire and so forth, there are power lines that run up and down the highway. A wind can knock them down at any time, and there could be a power outage. People put solar panels on their roof. Seriously, if this was a danger of fire and causing all kinds of issues, people would not put these on top of their homes. I think some of the hysteria out there is just way, way over the top. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tish Benacasa? Is that right? Tish? Yeah. Tish.
Good evening, everybody. I live on 69 Edie Road in Saratoga Springs, and I am totally opposed to the solar farm. I don't see where there's enough history on it. When I did look up some research on how far is the safe distance of a home from a solar farm, they're saying 1.25 miles. My home is 1,320 feet from the existing solar farm. I don't feel comfortable with it. I don't think there's enough research on it, and it's all being funded by New York State. So it's just, I mean, as far as developments go, I mean, if you drive down Loudon Road, there's Rose Terrace, there's another development, there's one across the street. The property is sold by the big red barn, and I'm sure that's going to be all development. You cannot stop development coming. And I don't see where this electricity is going to be powered to. It's going to benefit me. 10% of my electric bill is nothing. I'm sorry. Is it going to benefit Saratoga? No. It's going to help out Schuylerville School District, because technically, even though it's only 1,300 feet from my house, it's in Schuylerville. So, I mean, it just doesn't make sense. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Dorothy Aspinall?
My name is Dorothy Espinal, and and my husband's name is Edward Lowe. He couldn't be here tonight. We live at 232 Loudon Road, and we are opposed to the solar installation, which is going to be right across from our house and right behind my neighbor's house. We're familiar with the property and layout of the property, the wetlands, and the topography of it, and we just don't feel it's an appropriate place because there's really no place to put a road in there to get in the back. It's going to affect the topography of the land, and we're concerned also. We moved to Wilton 13 years ago because it's a nice place to live, and we did not want to live in an area with an industrial installation as our neighbor. We moved there to an R2 zoning, expecting that that area would remain a residential area. So we are not in favor of it and totally oppose that particular installation. We do believe in solar, but it belongs in the right zoning, not in residential neighborhoods. Thank you.
Michael Bryce.
I'm just going to read this to you so I don't go off the top of my head. The solar companies are only in this for the large profits they make. They come to these towns, they buy up all these parcels of little wetlands and cheaper land. They don't want to spend the money to buy an industrial commercial site because they have to pay a premium price for that instead of the inexpensive prices that they pay for this kind of land. So that would affect their profit margins. The solar companies have no care in the world about the second, third, fourth generation people and families that live in these areas. Okay? They come from out of state, they clear our beautiful forest lands, they put up a solar array, and then they sell it off to another company. That's what they do with their own admission. Wilton's a very highly sought after town. People want to move here because they're close to everything, but they feel like they're living in the country. For young or older families to want to come and invest into Wilton, they're certainly going to have to think twice if there's a solar array near their house. That's for sure. I don't think there's anybody in this room, if they're buying a house, would like to buy a house where there's solar arrays very close. Don't think that's happening. Wilton's one of the best towns in the country to live. It's got the nature preserves, parks, bike paths, everything a family could want here. And out-of-state solar companies are in here coming looking to ruin all of that for greed. Solar is industrial. It belongs in industrial areas, not residential areas. There is not much profit made. There is a large amount of profit made by these solar companies. Let them invest in industrial areas and stay out of the residential areas. These companies say the product can't cause contamination. They can't go on fire. Well, in their own words, on their own website, they state that one of their arrays caught fire because of a weather issue. It turned out it was a windstorm, causing the panels to blow over an arc, causing a fire. Hello. We all know that we get plenty of windstorms here, and incredible windstorms. So if that happens, you got a big issue. They also say because their arrays don't have battery-backed systems, they can't go on fire. But as everybody knows, there still could be a forest fire, which can be put out with water. But if there's a forest fire, God forbid, and certainly will set off solar arrays. And that cannot be put out with water because that's electric. So that would be a major obstacle, putting a lot of people and homes in danger. By the way, Tier 3 solar panels are by far the cheapest panels made, and they're made in China, where there is no emissions standards whatsoever. Look at the fire in northern New York 8 weeks ago. It was a solar. It wasn't the solar arrays that caused the fire. It was a backup system. But the panels burned anyway and set off very toxic fumes, causing families and residents to have to shelter in place. It took over 5 days to put it out. Why should any Wilton resident or just anybody in general be subject to that? In this day and age, we definitely don't need another thing to have to worry about. By not allowing solar arrays into residential areas, it protects all Wilton residents. It's that simple.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, though.
Laura Lorenko.
On board.
Yeah.
He's sitting right next to you.
No, he's not.
Hi, thank you. My name is Laura Lorenko. I'm also an Edie Road resident in the R2, and I'm adjacent to the Seaboard Solar that's coming in. So first of all, thank you to the Solar and the Code Committees for putting together this revision. I know it's a lot of work. And I'd like to say that I agree with my neighbors that I don't want a development in a residential area that is toxic, hazardous, or will disrupt ecosystems or the nature of our neighborhood. And that is why I support community solar installations, Tier 2 and Tier 3, in the R2 district. This area is going to be developed, as we've heard, and unlike most other developments allowed in our districts, solar is a good neighbor. It's passive, low-impact development. It provides locally produced, clean, made-in-America energy that will be accessible at a discounted rate to Wilton residents without the cost of installing expensive private arrays, which is the Tier 1, which is the only other way to get it currently with our code in residential areas. Second, I would like to add that I'm really concerned about all the misinformation that's been going around about solar. These modern panels are not toxic, they don't leak, they're not fire hazards. So opposed to some of the handouts I've been receiving, a lot of the conversations I've been hearing, there's just wrong information going around. And by these standards, my house is a toxic super fire hazard, and I shouldn't be allowed to own a lawnmower. I mean, so compared to this, I think the solar panels are a very good neighbor, and I would encourage the town to consider holding community conversations on topics such as this in a format. You know, this format has its purpose for the town board, but it's not a format where we can have a discussion, where we can really build understanding. These are very complicated codes, policies, zoning codes to understand. It takes hours, and that's if you're a professional. I have a planning background, so thank you for everyone's input and for your time.
Thank you.
Tara Yasenchik, is that correct?
Doesn't matter.
Was that close?
I'm not going to try to spell that.
Hello, my name is Terry Senchuk. I am on 85 Edie Road. While I'm not thrilled with the idea of a solar farm behind the house, compared to the alternative of another development, I believe the solar farm, given the restrictions you have currently placed upon it, is the best of the options. And that's what I really wanted to make sure we talked about today, is that those restrictions in terms of setbacks, in terms of upkeep, in terms of keeping the area wild after everything is done, then cleaning things up, as long as the companies are held to those high standards, that it's going to have the less impact of the development. There's a lot of wetlands back there. We have animals, we have flowers, we have plants that a development would destroy, but allowing this to continue with the restrictions given would allow those wetland environments to continue to be there. I'm assuming DEC is going to be able to be on top of this and looking at the wetlands. They tend to all over the state. So allowing for those restrictions and keeping those restrictions, I am still in favor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Elizabeth Simonetti? Okay.
I don't have much more to add, other than I feel the same way. Take the mic towards you, please. Testing. I agree with what Tara said. I don't have anything more to add except for that I feel the same way, and I'm in favor.
Thank you.
Sean Van Vechten.
My name is Sean Van Vechten. I live at 145 Ruggles Road. I believe my house is the closest, given the picture that was sent to all of us. It said I was 630 feet or so to my house. I own about 450 feet behind my house. Do the math, I don't know how that works out. You will see it. I will see it. I've invested hundreds of thousands of dollars there. I've looked at purchasing that property years ago. It's been for sale for 10 years. Okay, a residential development, you put 5 houses back there. You can't. I could be wrong, but I looked into it. It would have sold 15 times by now. I can guarantee that, actually. So I welcome a neighbor any day. Then this mess in the back of 30 acres of just rows of solar. I'm not going to get into the health reasons of it. Everyone else has said that. But the threat of a residential subdivision going in here and and not this, that's not completely true. I don't think if there was houses going in there would be less impact on the neighbors than this solar farm would be. So, I mean, with density and everything else like that, the amount of wetlands, I think it's a far stretch, and everybody's scared of having a neighbor. They're going to build $1 million houses like they are down the street. Please, their tax benefit would be much greater than $700,000. Okay, the guy said 5 houses at $9,000 a year. 5 houses, that's over $1 million to the school district. Well, for 10 kids to run around, they can come swim in my pool. I don't care. Okay? So in my pool, when I'm out there, you'll see the solar farm. Okay? In November, when I heat the pool, I'm still open, the leaves are off, I'll see the solar farm. I understand it's available, but I'm against it, but not in a residential area, no good. In an industrial area, commercial area, do it. But I also think everyone's shoving these down our throat, and 5 years from now, we're going to say, oh, well, we were wrong about solar, just like they say everything else. So the state's giving big incentives for people to do this, grow, make money. I'm good with capitalism, it's great, but not on the backs of everybody else. Okay? So I'm against this. Go somewhere else. It makes sense. I'd be for it. But build your residential development in lieu of this, and come over for a beer. Thank you.
Tom Case?
The town residents want to thank Ray, Doug, John, Aaron, and John for researching the solar issue and disallowing all solar farms in residential zones. Extra thanks to Ray and Aaron for all the hard work you've done behind the scenes. The residential zones are common. They were created to disallow any commercial projects in them, such as industrial solar farms. It's plain and simple. The residents of Wilton, especially on Loudon, Edie, Ruggles Road, have been put through hell. Harassed at their homes, not once but 3 times by the solar company's president, CFO, to the point we had to notify the sheriff's department. We've been called non-educated, NIMBYs, naysayers. They've also been given residents an ultimatum if the solar farm doesn't go through. They would clear cut the forest, build 32 homes on the proposed property for everybody to see, as said by Stuart Longman, who's here. Another ultimatum was the only alternative was to clear cut the forest and build 10 to 15 new houses for Sean Glasgow on the proposed property for everybody to see. A good neighbor is not someone who disrespects the wishes of the neighborhood. I built 237 Loudon Road, the proposed site, lived there for 36 years, and built homes for 45 years. The woods, nobody knows them better than myself or Mike Price. They're predominantly wetlands, and I believe nobody's even walked the property. But the solar company did trespass on the neighbor's property to set up a drone. We're against solar farms in all residential neighborhoods in Wilton, not just ours. China's the leading manufacturer of Tier 3 solar panels. They don't have the regulations the U.S. has in manufacturing them. The majority of them are not robotically assembled and therefore have a higher risk for defects. A lot of solar companies have been not even in business long enough to know all the possible long-term side effects to the proposed site and drinking water. Not all property is conducive to building. Common sense tells you you cannot go into the treated wetlands without destroying the ecosystem. You can't replace it. We believe true green energy solutions do not involve destroying forest, wildlife habitats, family, and property values on homes. Most importantly, all solar companies should be scrutinized and researched thoroughly. I don't know of anyone who has a solar farm in their backyard or wants one. This nonsense just needs to stop tonight. Let us return to a normal, peaceful way of living.
Dave Byrne? Is it Dave or Diane? I can't. Byrne? Thanks, sorry.
Looks like a Dave.
It is a Dave.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dave Byrne. I'm from South Glens Falls. My company is Renewa Energy. We're working on the Quaker Springs project in the vicinity of the Knollwood development. I just wanted to say first off to the residents of Knollwood, I know a lot of you are here. I do understand your concerns. I know your neighborhood has been beset by other developments which maybe you didn't support, a railroad which shakes the homes in the area, a cell phone tower, 3 major billboards. So I understand your concerns. I'm here to propose a compromise that I think is rational. There are, considering your concerns, there also are clear benefits. There's significant revenue to the town. There's also substantial environmental benefits, significant local jobs created, and also substantial savings to local property owners to the tune of several hundreds of homes. So considering the benefits, considering your concerns, I would propose that the planning board be given the authority to look at the specifics of each project, look at the merits, the specific environment that the project is proposed in. That includes existing vegetative screening, proposed vegetative screening, the existing topography, as well as the existing landscape, i.e. Numerous billboards in the area that do provide screening. So specifically, I would propose that Tier 3 solar be included as a permitted use in the R2 zone. I would also propose a modification to Table 1.2 in the proposed law to read, instead of parcel line and other setback requirements, modify requirements to range for Tier 3 ground-mounted solar energy systems at discretion of planning board during site plan application review process. Also looking at the R2 row in that table, I would start at 100 feet from both front, side, as well as rear setbacks, which is recommended by the state. Include what you have currently proposed, up to 200 feet. And then for residential districts, up to 500 feet as a setback, but again, at the discretion of the planning board. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. We don't need that.
No. Jay O'Leary?
John, I yield my time to Steve.
How are you doing? My name is Steve Borden. I live at 238 Wilton Road, which is directly across the street from where they started the initial drive path in. I know nothing about zoning. I know absolutely nothing about zoning or any of this process or what I'm even doing here for the moment. But what I do know is I'm a licensed family therapist. That's what I do by profession. I work with families and I bring people closer together. And that not only includes your family in your home, but your family outside your home. And, I know this gentleman here mentioned there's 5 bullet points or 5 points that we may have had, but, I don't know what necessarily those are technically, but I can tell you that I don't know if anyone spoke about family and what the possible long-term outcomes of having this solar farm come in could do to the residents. I mean, if you're talking about playing off a solar farm versus a new development, like I'd rather have more kids for my kids to play with. I don't know, it just seems more sense to me. I think we should be building community and not solar farms, if that makes any sense to anybody. We have a real opportunity here to grow our community in a sense that will bring us much closer together. Just through this process, I've made so many friends and so many cool people locally, and I want to thank you all for making me a part of this. And even though I don't know all of this, I do think there are some cautions out there that could affect not only my children but the children of the people in the audience. And like I said, let's build the community and not so much solar farms. I remember the last time I was here, the solar company mentioned that they're a family company, but in my opinion, if you're a family company, you'd stick around and not necessarily sell to another company to move in, or once they're complete and structured. That doesn't say family to me. I mean, my family's been here for as long as I can remember. My parents still live in my childhood home, and I hope that my kids get to do the same. I hope they get to come home for Christmas and sleep in the rooms that they grew up in. I really mean that. I think a lot of the people in this room mean the same. With that being said, too, I just want to thank Roy and Aaron for bringing this forward and taking the battle to them and trying to knock it out of the park for us. Thank you, everybody. I wish you and your family the best. Thank you.
Anybody else like to speak? Come on up, we got one more.
I don't need this.
I don't need this.
My name is Rochelle, and I live on Eby Road. And I just want to see a show of hands. How many of you like change? Raise your hand. You love change. You love change. So I just want to give some balance here to change, to what change is about. I'm a transformational life coach. I deal with change every day. I talk to people every day who have fear, and it's natural. Progress is about fear. It's rocket fuel for getting something done, for moving forward, for making some sort of progress. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest threat to change, the biggest threat to progress is fear. And it's normal. It's normal for every one of us to have some fears. All of you in this room, I hear it. You're all protectors. You are wanting to protect something. Everyone's protecting something different, but you're all protecting something, and that's amazing. The question I have is, what's beyond that fear? If you're saying, okay, I'm afraid that these things are going to happen, well, we don't know that they're going to, right? We don't know. It's unknown. It's not true. It's just what we fear to be true. But there are much bigger fears beyond that for the climate, for the world, that we haven't even talked about. And so I'm a bit of a visionary. I would like to see that we, to the last speaker who I thought made a great point about community, well, community unites from a common purpose, a common goal, a common mission. So there's ways to do that too, and have built community around that. But a lot of the time when we have fear, we tend to focus on the negative. We tend to focus on what we lack, what we're missing, what we're losing out on. We don't focus so much on what we can get from this. And there were many great points that were made about what we will get, but we're really not talking about that. We're staying in a place of fear of what we are afraid we're going to lose versus what we're going to gain from this as a community. I think it's a good idea. It's just my opinion, and I value every single person's opinion in this room. I really, truly do. I may not agree with it, but I value it. I know you're just wanting to protect something, but I ask you to think about it, right? What are you really stop-guarding here? What are you protecting and saying no to and limiting yourself on what you can have? Because I'm hearing so many other things that we can make an argument for that we're going to get. And I just want to shine a light on that. Don't underscore that part of what we're going to gain. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Motion close it. I got one more, you want it?
Thank you. I should have signed up. My name is Andrew Williams. I live right around the corner on Coughlin Court. I just want to say, I'm here in support of the solar development. I work for one of the largest land conservation nonprofits in the state, New York League Conservation Voters. When it comes to land conservation concerns, wetlands concerns, they're really non-issues when we're talking about these solar developments. These developments have to go through various different stages within the state process and the local process, right? I'm sure that this went through seeker. I'm sure this was approved by DEC. Wetlands were checked by DEC. No, they were not.
I don't believe we've done secret.
You haven't done seeker, but you approved a
Have we done
solar
secret?
development
It's
project?
not.
It's not approved.
It's not
It's not approved.
No. This
Well, it's gonna go through seeker then.
is this.
It's not gonna go through seeker.
Is this a solar amendment?
It's an amendment.
I'm talking about the project.
No.
This is an amendment to the code.
Okay, so the project is not gonna go through any environmental review, is what you're saying?
No.
No.
The development of the
This is a public comment.
not
Let's
there yet.
just, let's just.
Yeah,
I'm just asking.
You're confused.
yeah,
I'm not confused. I'm asking, is the solar development gonna have to go through state?
Correct.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's what I'm saying. So we all agree, right?
but the public hearing is related to amendments to...
That's what I'm saying, the amendments,
Zoning.
yeah.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. So you're putting barriers up that already exist within the state, within the local government. So it's going through these environmental processes, but you're just putting up another barrier. That's correct then, right?
I wouldn't say it's a barrier, it's another step.
Well, I just wanted to say, for the project, I think it's very short-sighted to put in policies that, say that we can't develop this certain type of process, but we can put in any other type of development. That's not fair. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed, done. Welcome to the September 7th Wilton Town Board meeting. We'll start with a pledge.
To the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now I gotta get back down.
Roll call.
Supervisor Lant?
Yeah.
Deputy Supervisor McEachran?
Here.
Councilman Bogardus?
Here.
Councilwoman Culligan?
Present.
Councilman O'Connor?
Here.
Anybody signed up to speak?
Yes. We have Al Weber.
Yeah.
I'll wait until they go. Those brought up.
I'm going to make this very short and sweet. I'm here to discussion about the Wilton Mall project. My wife is Laura Vincek. She owns Vincek Farm in Wilton. I'm sure a few of you people know her. She can't make it here tonight for a medical reason. I've kind of studied this project to make this really short and sweet. Small building project, town to receive these are approximate figures, $368,000 in sales tax collections, $800,000 in school tax collections. I understand these are approximate figures. Town of Wilton's not expected to incur any costs at all from what I can see. Forever limits the number of housing units that are put on this. I don't see anything harmful to the Wilton or the residents, just a plus as far as revenue. I'd be kind of surprised that if the generation of the revenues by Wilton there's a downside to that. Project's going to stay within 100 acres footprint with no clearing of land or forest. So I'm just real quickly here to see how the process works out and what the board has to say about that in the area. I appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just want to make a quick comment that in light of the Wilton Mall project, we're going to suggest that we set a public hearing for next month as a good faith in government to let the process play out. And in this case, which would mean scheduling a public hearing with the opportunity for everyone who wishes to express their views about the proposal, where you would get more merit and teeth because it would be a public hearing instead of a public comment, which is not part of the record, the formal record. So if there's anyone if there's anybody here to speak about the mall project, we are intending to set a public hearing for next month. I'm not going to stop anybody from speaking, but you will have more merit next month at a public hearing where it becomes a public record for the town. Having said that, you can continue if you'd like, and
Steve Baderian.
Good evening, I'm Steve Baderian. I live at 8 Woodland Drive. I got a couple of comments that I wanted to pass along. Back in 2006, I was in Uganda at the Queen Elizabeth Park, and our guide had been unsuccessful in locating elephants for us to see in this photo safari. Whipped out his cell phone, Mustafa, where are the elephants today? And sure enough, we had directions of what dirt roads to take to find the elephants. Fast forward 17 years, the town of Wilton is still woefully short of cell service, which was provided in the darkest of Africa 17 years ago. I have a note here from the planning board meeting of June of this past year with the excuse that the Verizon cell tower on Maple Avenue, which is 1 mile from my home, was not yet operational. The antennas are there, all of the communication equipment is there, but no generator was installed yet for backup power. Now, I think we have plenty of power around that it could have been initialized, and yet if we lost power, then you lose cell service. However, for the last 3 months, there's been no cell service at my home 1 mile away either. So I think that is a complaint, which I don't know how the board addresses that, but it certainly exists in this town. We certainly should be able to claim better service than the darkest Africa. Topic number 2, my pet projects are the low-stress ped and bicycle infrastructure. I took a 15-mile loop today on my bike, on my new titanium knees, and I noticed many of the road projects that were accomplished this building season and still ongoing. They are wider, and they are more amenable to an adult, fully traffic-aware cyclist. But low-stress bike and ped infrastructure means for people who are less likely to be that alert. You need separate lanes, you need pathways, which are not, and this building season, I have to say I haven't seen any. And other than the improvements to Car Road, which are still in the future, I'm unaware of any that are going forward. So I would hope that we would be able to see some improvement on that low-stress network. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ed Kukowski.
I already spoke.
All right, beautiful. Sean Brazo.
I just wanted to take, yeah, I did.
Excuse me, speak again.
Please.
This is a separate...
No, we're not doing this. We're listening to the gentleman.
It's for everybody.
3 minutes per person per speech, so you get 3 and then Mike.
We all have 3 minutes.
Doesn't matter.
That's not fair. Now he wants to come and contradicting? No.
Is this public?
No, this is public comment.
There's a difference between a public...
No, you told us all 3 minutes and that's it.
Ed, there's a difference between...
Ed,
Sorry.
Ed,
There's
it's
a
open,
difference
it's
between
open
the
for
public
everyone.
hearing
If you all want to
and
come
public
back up,
comment.
I'm all for it.
Correct.
Two different things.
If you signed up, yep.
The first session was a formal public hearing to address one issue. That was sold. The public comment period is for anybody to make a comment about anything they want.
Which you're all welcome to come up after. We'll give you plenty of time.
That's why we ask questions.
Are you still limited to 3 minutes?
Thank you.
Correct.
Thank you. I will only take 1 minute. And what I came up here to say was thank you to the board, thank you to the people with whom we spoke, who gave us the time to speak to them, because many refused to speak to us. I know it's been a lot of work behind the scenes putting this together. Obviously, you understand my perspective. I'm encouraging you to take some more time on this particular topic, but you have the gratitude of me and my team, and in particular to the individuals who engage in civil conversations in social media. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mackenzie Young, do you still want to speak? No. Wilton Mall.
Hello, everybody. I'm actually speaking on the Wilton Mall development. I know you guys said that we were doing a hearing later on, and I will also be at that one as well. I wanted to talk because, for one, I am somebody who works at the Wilton Mall. I'm also a resident of the area. I know a lot of objections for it is the traffic, everything like that, but don't you remember growing up, if you guys have been in this area, how fun it was to go to the Wilton Mall? It had the carousel, it had absolutely everything. You could barely walk in there. Now it's a ghost town. Okay? This is going to help revitalize that back to us, to give us a place for the community to go, for the community to come together. Okay? This is also going to help the small businesses that are going around the town. There's so many that goes through this mall, and it's absolutely amazing. They get to come in, they get to make their stepping stones, they get to save the money to be able to get to their high hiatus that they're looking for. Okay, this is going to help the community a lot with not only everything else. I understand the traffic. They're going to live in the same area. They're going to live where they're working, where they're playing, everything. That area is already a high-trafficked area. So what's the difference? They're not going to the outer skirts where everybody else lives and everybody likes the calmness and everything. They're going to stay right there. So I don't see why we're opposing that, because this is going to bring more jobs, more revenue. It's going to bring people together in an area that can be happening, somewhere that everybody can come and share that time. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Desiree Natali?
Desiree?
Desiree?
That was
Oh.
What happened to Mackenzie?
She didn't want to.
Okay, all right. That was not Mackenzie then. Brad Doty?
Say it again.
From Ruggles Road? Brad?
Rock.
I'm sorry, what?
Rock, R-O-T-H.
You got it.
Sorry.
Sorry.
You could have been a Brad.
Yeah.
You're Brad
You
tonight.
almost made it for it.
Hi, I'm Brad Roth. I'm at 137 Ruggles. I've been there since 2000. I'm going to just make two short comments tonight. Between Ruggles and King, there is no speed limit sign at all. None. They're on the curves, but there is no speed limit sign at all. That road has been, a lot of people walk it, the bike crews from Saratoga come out there. I'm a big biker. It's hard to even walk across to see my neighbor or to stand on the side of the road because they hit that stop sign and man, they go. And we haven't seen cops out there patrolling. I know my neighbor and I have both asked them that they can sit in our driveways and catch them. I mean, they would catch so many, it'd be unbelievable. But there's no berm there, and it's just, you know, people are walking their dogs. I'm just surprised nobody's been hurt, and thank God nobody's been hurt. But I want you to look at that. There's no speed limit sign from when you turn on Loudon
to King?
To King at all,
From
anywhere
Loudon to
designated.
King?
On Ruggles.
It will be addressed. It will be addressed.
Mike's here tonight.
The other thing I want to just say, since I'm at 137 Ruggles, I am affected by the solar. And the other thing I'm really offended by is that, you know, a company comes in and threatens us with one way or the other. You know, this is our community, you know? I mean, to talk sensibly to people and to bring things up, but to threaten with, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, or you're going to, you know, or something's going to happen, you know? I mean, I don't agree with you. I got solar on my house, you know, but when somebody threatens me in my own area with this or that, or you do what we say, I have a problem. That's all I want to say.
Thank you.
Everybody get a chance to read August?
Wait a minute, hang on a minute, John. Sorry.
I'd like to make a public comment because I didn't know that you had to sign both sheets, and I apologize.
Sorry.
3 minutes.
You learn something new every month, don't you?
I'm sorry.
2 months ago, it was what, 3 times?
I'd like to say one thing, that putting solar arrays in a residential area compared to an industrial area, we're doing one very important thing if they're in an industrial area. We are protecting all the Wilton residents from any possible, if it can happen, contamination, fires, other issues. We welcome solar. We welcome it. But please, put it in the right spot. That's where it really belongs. This way, all the Wilton residents are protected from it. We don't have issues. If it's in an industrial area, it's easy to be contained if there is a problem. There's less chance of contamination because they can be all over it. In the middle of the woods, you know, everybody knows there's not going to be somebody going in there every day and monitoring it. In an industrial area, there's going to be plenty of people around, plenty of people that can look and see, oh, you know what, there is a problem there. But the one thing it does, if we keep it out of the residential areas, it protects all Wilton residents, every one of us. Thank you very much.
Got one more. Sure.
I'm Tom Allen. I'm one of the owners of the solar project property. I've been in the town of Wilton my whole life. I hear people that moved in 10, 15, 20 years ago saying, "Oh, Wilton's country." Well, in my eyes, you guys have wrecked it. It's not country anymore, just so you guys all know.
Thank you for letting us know that.
Well, I'm just being honest. Being honest, you guys are bashing the next people that are coming in. But I'm just being honest with you.
Let's just be respectful, sorry. Let's be respectful, please.
There was a lot of thought to this. The solar wasn't the first option. We had a lot of builders interested in this property. My thinking was I'd rather see solar than another development, crowded roads, overcrowding schools, more wear and tear on the roads. It's a win-win for the town. They get the tax base with hardly anything on the infrastructure. They're going to upgrade the power grid in that section, which if you paid for that, guess what? Your NIMO bill's going through the roof. Guaranteed. I don't have the exact numbers on me, but I talked to some people at NIMO, and they roughly said probably close to about $12 million what these guys are going to do. Factor that into your bill and tell them your bill's not going up. Bet you I'm right. It will, but it's going to go up more. I guarantee it.
All right, it's not a debate, it's just a public comment period, so please.
I let you guys all talk. Let me. That's all I'm asking. You guys want to make some points? I'm trying to make my points. There was comments about fire with them and this and that. You know, you got electric cars that are burning down houses. You got battery packs that are exploding in garages and basements. They're burning up houses more than the solar panels are. I don't see anybody saying that, but that's okay. So I'm just letting everybody know. You gotta have an open mind and look at the big picture. I did, that's why we chose the solar versus the development. Figure we had enough development. Everybody calls DEC and the bears, attacking their bird feeders. Well, guess what? Put a house, you're taking the bears away. They're little home away. So they have nowhere to go. It's just common sense. At least this is gonna have flowers for the bees and everything. They're gonna replant, give it back to the town as a park, or whatever the town decides to do in the future. So, round, to me, it's a win. As a taxpayer, Wilton, it's a win-win. That's all I got today. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Joanne, did you have something?
I just wonder if there's an update on the pickleball courts over at Gavin Park, the repair of them?
It's gonna be, should be done within 2 weeks, that tennis, the outside.
The outdoor one?
Yes.
The outdoor one.
Should be done within 2 weeks.
The indoor one's open. It should be.
I meant the outdoor.
Should be done in a couple weeks,
You don't want to play that this week.
unless you're inside.
Thank you.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, that's fine. I just wanted to comment on a couple of gentlemen before who mentioned like about the property and the schools and all. I don't see what the big deal is, and you were given more of an ultimatum when the gentleman came around, what would you rather have, solar or development? Don't intimidate me. I'm sorry. I didn't do that.
You intimidate.
Are you sure? Are you trying to intimidate us?
Act like I know that. But what I want to say is, since I just learned a couple of days ago that Schuylerville schools are going to get the benefit from this solar issue, that's Schuylerville schools, so what do we care? Let it go. Let the development go. I don't understand, and I don't understand why it's being pushed so fast where you got the guys coming once a week to try to get you to go with the solar. It's not right. I have a mind of my own. Don't try to tell me what to do or what not to do. So.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Jeff Dennis. I live at the corner of Loudon Ruggles Road, so my property borders the proposed site. And, first off, I'm opposed. This thing's basically in my front yard. I know there's been a lot. I'm taking it kind of personal, but I'm trying to be objective. And objectively, I think that I don't think anybody can say they really know what the long-term effects are going to be. We got 2 young girls. What's the impact going to be on them being this close to the solar grid? When my girl's 20 years down the road. As far as R2 zones, I don't think they should be there. And if definitely not in an R2 zone that has to be clear cut, and where there's wetlands, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And the last thing I'd say, and I think this is objective, I mean, this is going to impact the value of my property. I don't think anybody can sit here and say that it's not. And I don't understand how the solar companies have the right to decrease my property value. It just doesn't make sense to me. That's it. Thank you.
Hi guys, I'm Jay O'Leary from 319 Ruggles Road. I'm not going to say anything that hasn't been said before, but the last gentleman just hit on my biggest point, is that on average, solar fields or solar farms that are built in residential areas have a 1.7% reduction in home value. So let's see that. Raise a hand for everyone that wants that. Yeah, no, not at all. So environmental and the fact that our area has had a 5 to 5.5% increase in home value, even through COVID, and the 10 years before that, are the 2 main reasons why we moved to where we are now on Ruggles Road. So the solar farms or solar fields are going to jeopardize that. They're going to jeopardize the environmental part of this nature preserve area that we have. So I'm against it, and I'm right with you guys. Thank you.
Come on up.
So I am Baron Casson. I live on Cedar Crest. No one knocked on my door. but I am aware of the issues. I believe I'm maybe 1.5 miles as the crow flies from the installation. And 20 years ago, I'm disappointed to learn this evening, I'm one of the people that moved to town that wrecked the ambiance here. Nevertheless, I am here, but I did my research before I came, and I knew about the area, and I knew what the zoning was, and I knew I was moving to a neighborhood, and I knew I was building a community where I raised my child. And although he's temporarily moved away, he does want to move back here. And I think we need to preserve that. I am not afraid of change, but I am afraid of making changes in residential areas that may be unwise when we really don't have all the facts. This little solar installation is not going to save the planet, but what we decide here can save our neighborhood. So I guess you glean from this that I am against the commercial installation of a solar farm in a residential neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
You might want to check the parking lot.
Anybody out there? Anybody out there? We're going to close the public comment. Thank you. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Come on up. Need longer arms.
Hi, Tony Sturm at 41 Parkhurst Road. I just wanted to comment on the presentation that Steve Badarian gave at the town board meeting last month on some ideas about multi-use bike paths in the town. And specifically, I was really struck by the use of a phrase that he said, that it's a once-in-a-generational opportunity to utilize the Canadian Pacific hydroelectric project that's going to bury the cable along the railroad tracks, to utilize that to try and make a connection across the Northway, along the tracks, to link the mall area, the Pyramid Pines, our largest trailer park, to going across the Northway, under the Northway, and linking it right near Gavin Park. And the time is now to act on that. If now is when the CPHP people are meeting with town board members to try and put pieces in place, how the project is going to go forward, that now is the time to, I think, negotiate with them to try and see if we can make some kind of connection along that railroad track. I understand some town board members didn't realize that you could have bike paths along rail tracks, but I think we need to broaden our outlook a little bit, and clearly trying to put multi-use paths across the roads across the Northway is, you know, the Jones Road was looked at a bunch of years ago. It was prohibitively expensive. And that is an opportunity I think we really can't afford to miss, and it would be really short-sighted, I think, if we didn't try and take advantage of it. And it might require getting some kind of bike path planners to help set up proposed projects that make the most sense, the lowest hanging fruit to jump on while this Canadian hydroelectric building is going to go through. And I just want to reiterate that to the board. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's safe to close it.
Everybody had a chance to read August minutes. Any questions or something? I'll make a motion.
Make a motion that we accept the
second.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Solar array code amendment proposed local law number 8 of 2023.
You know, I think if there was one word that I heard at least a few times regarding this issue, it's the word complicated. I speak for myself. When I first started looking into the issues surrounding solar arrays, zoning issues surrounding them.
Rode their bike.
A concern I expressed early on, was about the clearing of our forest land. And the fact that forests, are sponges for carbon dioxide and do a lot to help the environment. And weighing that against the benefits, because I'm a believer in renewable energy, weighing that against the benefits of solar. And so, for me personally, it's been like a roller coaster of, what's the right thing to do, the wrong thing to do, best practices, et cetera. And, personally, I've come to the conclusion that we can do a couple of different things. One is we can just leave a moratorium in place indefinitely, and then there's virtually no predictability of what's allowed, where it's allowed, how a solar company could proceed, and that can go on forever, and that effectively puts an end to all of the discussion and all of the potential of solar power in the town. Another possibility is to adopt the amendments as they were drafted and proposed this evening, and that at least gives predictability to those who want to pursue solar power. It also gives us an opportunity. There are, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong, there were 3 projects that have gone through the entire approval process?
Correct.
That were not subject to the moratorium?
Correct.
That can proceed as approved?
Correct.
And
as the language is written.
Okay.
Proposed language.
Council,
I don't mean to interrupt, but I want to point out, I think I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that it is not actually an option to keep a moratorium in place in perpetuity.
Okay. What's the maximum length?
There's not a certain number, but if it goes on multiple years, it's subject to challenge. And if we're not doing something during the moratorium, the challenge will be successful.
Sure, yeah. Council always makes a good point, but even if it cannot go on forever, if it goes on for years while we study and look and talk and discuss, that still gives a lack of predictability for the investors who are trying to develop solar arrays. So my personal inclination is to do 2 things. One is to adopt the amendments as they've been drafted. And the second, there's only 2 certainties in this world, right? Remember the old adage? Death and taxes. And I'd like to see the projects that have been approved move forward, see what our experience is like with those projects, and that, there may be opportunities to make amendments, not that a solar array would go anywhere in town, but there may be, in addition to certain industrial commercial zones, areas in the community where it would not have an impact on any of the existing residential areas, neighborhoods, homes, etc., but might provide more potential for that in the future. One man's opinion.
I think it's important for people, folks at the audience, thank you all for who spoke out for, against. I mean, that's what our democracy is about. Everybody gets their opinion. We respect it. We don't have to agree with it, but we can certainly be amicable and have an open dialogue. We, in the rewriting of the code, typically when a project comes forward, as long as it fits within that zoning, it bypasses the town board and it goes right to the planning board, who then, if that project seeks something from the zoning board will see it. So we don't always see some of these projects that come up. So for, rest assured, in this new language, we did put that T3 and T4, correct? Tier 3, Tier 4, I'm thinking like thyroid. Projects will have to come before the town board for a special use permit in a case-by-case basis. So it's not going to bypass this board and just go right to planning because it fits within a certain zone. So just know that that language is in there also, that these large projects will have to come before your kind of governing the people you voted for, it'll have to come up here first so that we can also, again, it's always open for public comment. It'll have to be subject to a public hearing, so you will always have your say when it comes to these large solar arrays, the tier 3 and the tier 4.
I'd like to get this over with tonight, and this new ruling. Huh?
We may have to do super. Yes.
Can you make a motion?
On 108-7,
I'm sorry, John. Council, is there a seeker requirement?
I thought not.
Okay, I wasn't sure we were.
Someone handed me an environmental
Yeah,
assessment form.
we were just prepared. We were not sure if it was required or not. So, okay. No. All right, nope.
Do we need to make a motion?
108-7 says all tier 2 ground-mounted solar energy systems shall be permitted in all zoning districts except R1 and RM. They should be R1, 2, 3, and RM, or all residential areas.
108-7, second or third page in. And I believe what you were looking for is R anything, which would include the mobile home parks as well.
I want to make sure they're all in there.
RM, R1, R2, R3, I believe we removed R3 from our town, didn't we?
This is tier 2. R1 and R2.
The way it's written is written as except for R1 and RM. We still have R1, R2, RM, R...
So you're talking tier 2?
This is tier 2.
Oh, tier 2, yeah.
This is someone if they want to put just a standalone array in their backyard.
Oh, I'm sorry, I guess...
Yeah, we're talking about tier 3 and tier 4.
Right. Should be there though.
Tier 2 is...
108-7 should say all residential areas.
That's if I want to put one on my house.
Yeah.
Right.
These are for personal residential use.
Not commercial.
Not solar arrays.
Well,
And that's
Tier 2 is not commercial.
I read it too fast.
Me too.
Except for R1, means you can't put it in on your house.
So where is it written in here about tier 4?
If you go to
108-8 is tier 3 systems.
And also 108-5.
yes.
Tier 2 is under roof. And then saying except R1.
What did you say, Ray? All right.
So are you looking for where it's that's not allowed in tier 3? So if you look at 108-4,
Okay.
Which they have all, they've removed it from all residential areas. So we can keep it as written.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Let's just, I'm confused here.
Brian, what we have in our hands is the latest revisions.
6 in the top right-hand
Right,
corner.
latest revisions that we've gone through.
Town council reviewed.
Yep.
And made some minor changes to clarify.
Yes.
Removing it from all.
Does it say all?
So as you mentioned before, Ray, the way it is written, there are 3 already planning board approved and special use permitted systems that will be allowed to move forward.
Correct.
All right, so I need clarification because I'm confused. So 108-8 removes solar arrays, commercial and large scale, out of all residential districts.
All tier 3 solar energy systems.
What do you want, Dwayne? 108.8?
That's what was pointed out, yeah.
Within commercial and industrial. We removed R2, R3, RV1. That's where the straight through is.
They should be crossed out.
So it's only allowed in commercial.
Right, I'm just getting a clarification before I make my informed decision. So basically, it's only permitting solar arrays in commercial zones.
C1, C2, C3.
Not residential at all.
CR1 and industrial zones.
All right, I just wanted to clarify that before I was able to vote.
Yes.
All right, so I support that.
Somebody want to make a motion to accept proposed local law 8 of 2023.
I'll make that motion.
A second?
I'll second.
You want to pull the board?
Sure.
Sue?
When do you want me to start? Council?
Me.
Yep. Supervisor Lamb?
Yes.
Deputy Supervisor McCacken?
Yes.
Councilman O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilman Bogardus?
I'll agree with my proposal.
Councilwoman Callaghan?
Yes.
Thank you.
None opposed, motion carried.
Thank you.
Number 6, Wilton Mall presentation.
Presentation or just?
It's a presentation.
Oh, it is a presentation, okay. Is that what was just handed out to us?
Yeah.
Where did I put it? There.
Maybe if they manage this better.
I got some. That's the file in my pack. I think they meant around that. I mean, I feel bad for solar, but there are, I think, the solar people, I think there's still options for them. Yeah, I was confused. That's why I wanted to leave it clear.
Because that draft just got came.
I know you guys have been back and forth. I think yesterday.
That's when the blue strike throughs came through.
Thanks for coming. Thank you very much for the hard work, and I know you definitely did. I know you did a lot of hard work. Thank you. Ryan, thank you for the hard work. I know you really did work hard.
Yeah.
Give us a shout. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know you did a lot of hard work.
And I'm not that bad person you thought I was.
Oh, I didn't sit bad. Thank you very much.
You did piss me off. You abused my employees. I don't get no. No. I mean previous. My employees, you jerked my guys out.
So it was closed and it flashed. Yeah, he was scared.
I would have called you names too.
Thank you. Take care. No, we don't can't do that. I'm not getting no hug. No, I'm gonna shake your hand.
Do you want to ask? Good for you.
We had to make a bad decision.
He jumped up and grabbed that microphone.
50% of the town lost.
What? You don't even know what you did?
Well, that's what I said. I'm not that bad person you thought I
All right, 50% of the people won, and 50% of the people lost.
I don't want to get in my sheet, but it will be in. You got to give me about 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, I will make sure.
Oh, good luck reading them though. You might as well catch them outside. Okay. All right.
Who do you?
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
All right.
So good, you're still.
Yeah. I just started 3 months ago.
I know this, sir. Told you.
Oh my word. Okay.
Yeah.
And I love this.
You may have a very good.
You swore guy. Where did John go?
His babies? Public comment and that was the kind of thing.
No, I was just looking for the solar.
Jeez.
Oh, that one. It's underneath there.
Yeah, feel
Really? Nobody's opposed to it.
Yeah, there's a.
I mean, I don't know.
Me too.
Yeah, we did. I do a lot running log.
It's close enough and then I'll match it with her.
She's running?
I'd rather make sure I get the actual name. And there are tax website.
He's going to proceed. I had a long time.
You're helping me out a lot. Oh, yeah. I appreciate it.
Cheer it up. You're off that committee. I told you formally.
Yeah, but, and I said, I really don't.
No, they don't want to. I already told them. You go through the stages.
Yeah. Oh, my God. My table.
We all good?
I come up with close enough.
Sorry.
Middle of the night.
There's a few of them.
You're all set. Go ahead. Can you hear me? No.
What's his name?
Is it on? Hello? There we go. Hi, good evening, everyone. My name is Tom Shepherdson. I'm an attorney with Whiteman, Oshman, and Hannah.
Yeah, it's coming like in and
In and out? Okay. Got it.
Actually, it's the crowd behind you that's drowning. Can you guys move your conversation outside, please? You're drowning out this presenter.
Thank you.
Unless it's
Unless you
raining.
want to say for the presentation.
So we're here to make a very brief, and well, now even more abbreviated since the town board, we happily heard that the town board plans to schedule this for a public hearing. I'm going to press my luck and ask, hopefully, that the town board would also refer our application to the county planning board as well, as part of our ask for tonight. With me, I represent Macerich, the mall owner. With me tonight is Tawny Farmer. We don't. Jamie Wolpert, and everyone knows Mike Schaefer. And we've got from the Paramount, the co-applicant before the board, Tom Settle from right up from Florida for this meeting. So I'm going to be, again, really brief. The project, as you probably know, and is approximately 382 units. It's shown on the screen there in blue. 2 phases, the apartment phase and the townhome phase. The project is located as you can see, in the rear of the mall. It's a very desolate area, and as part of the project, we're proposing to tear down the Bon-Ton store and liven up that area of the mall, which really needs it. Regarding zoning, we are in a C1 zone. The PUD, as we're proposing, will be compliant with all area and bulk regulations, including density requirements in the town code. The town planning board has issued a recommendation favorable to the project back to this town board. We'd just like to point that out. A few months back, we sent an analysis, or our analysis of the comprehensive plan. That we felt that that this project is consistent with the comprehensive plan. Basically, it boils down to, it encourages mixed-use development specifically in our area of the town, and the comprehensive plan looks for economic growth balanced against preservation goals of the town. I think that this project hits a home run, and as we finish through this presentation, you'll see why. We've heard, from the town board, we've heard from members of the public about our project, and we have 5 takeaways that we're going to touch on tonight, very quickly. Again, economic impact, attainability, traffic, the future of the mall, and public benefits. And we've got new information on public benefits that we'd like to share with the town board tonight. I'm going to take a stab at the economic impact. We had Camoin Associates take a look at the project. They're a local firm with a national reputation of excellence, and as one of the speakers earlier today indicated, there's going to be a huge amount of construction jobs created, over 300, 125 permanent jobs will be created, 368,000 new sales tax revenue to the town, and over 800,000
to the school district with a very minimal impact on enrollment with the school district. And that's where I would, that's the end of my comments on this. We're trying to move quickly, and next up is going to be Jeff Saucer from Stantec.
Thank you, Tom. I'm Jeff Saucer, urban planner with Stantec, and supporting the public outreach portion of this. So what I wanted to just summarize quickly. We just wanted to bring your attention to, and you might have already seen it, you might have already participated in, a web platform that we introduced months ago called Co-Urbanize, which is a tool we often use to gather feedback and ideas and comments from people beyond just the confines of a room like this, to just make sure we get as wide-ranging opinions and ideas and share information as possible. So to summarize some of the outreach we've gotten, some of the responses we've gotten, 5,800 website visitors, 217 people are following us through this platform, 846 total comments. So we've used tools like this in bigger places like downtown Memphis and other places like that. Fewer comments there than we've had here. So it's a very strong engagement. We're getting a lot of opinions, a lot of participation here. And generally, the sentiment of the comments are 60% positive, 34% neutral, and a small amount negative. So generally, it's a positive response from the diverse people that are weighing in here. Thanks. So we ask questions like, what would encourage you to spend more time at the mall? What else do you want us to know about your ideas for the mall? Why do you come to the mall? Just try to get a feel for who these people are that are commenting, where they're coming from, what they like about the mall, what they want to see more of. And so we have a number of examples of some of the statistics that we raised. People generally were in favor of things that supported the mall. They felt that the housing development was good for the mall, that it would increase vitality, that it would strengthen the stores, that it would bring a breath of fresh air, fresh life to the mall environment, to the mall experience. We also got dozens of letters of support, and they continue to come in. A few quotes here of some of the things people have told us from the community, and we've heard from people who live in the community, also people who work at the mall. So people have worked at the mall for 20 years. They need something to happen here. They want to see something revitalize this property, and the housing is something that could do that, according to these folks. It would boost the local economy, benefit the mall, which in turn benefits the town. It's a great use of space that has been dormant over the years. People support the project. It increases the taxable value. It's a great opportunity with less negative impacts for Wilton residents than other locations. So the common themes in this dialogue we've had with the community that you've had amongst yourselves on this platform, we see clear consensus around a number of points here. That folks believe that the housing proposal supports the mall vitality. It's good for the mall, good for the businesses at the mall. It could attract new tenants, so housing could help draw new investment, new retail, new entertainment. We'll hear about that from other perspectives a little bit later. It's a good location for a project like this. There's no trees here to cut down. This is a good place for apartments to be built. This is what people have told us, and it fosters walkability. This is one of the most walkable locations you could put multifamily in Wilton, so folks can walk to the amenities and the resources and the services in the mall directly from their home there. So we've also, the questions for discussion have come up through our dialogue with the town board and other town folks, and also amongst the discourse online. Traffic impacts and fiscal benefits. So Tom talked about fiscal benefit. We'll talk about the last two, design quality and attainability, in a second, but I'll pause real quick on traffic impacts. We had a presentation a meeting or two ago from VHB, our transportation consultant here, but I can summarize that this site was built to handle lots of traffic. It was designed for easy access to the highway. These roads are big. They're below capacity in many ways. I mean, the conclusion of the traffic analysis relative to the apartments was that it would have no measurable impact. The level of service, which is a way we understand whether or not things are going to get worse at certain intersections with the new development, the level of service was not changed. It wasn't degraded when we modeled the potential impacts of the site. So from a traffic perspective, this does not have a detrimental impact. Okay, so I'll ask Tom Settle to come up and tell us about and the answers to the last two questions there.
Thanks. Excuse me. Thanks, Jeff. My name is Tom Settle. I'm with Paramount Development.
We're from Sarasota, Florida, and we're the apartment developers. Okay. Yes, please. Like Tom Jones. There you go. Delayed. Great. So, but we build top-end stuff. You know, I'll be real brief in saying that, you know, finish and, you know, features, amenities, this will be top of the market, none better in this whole Sarasota, that's where I'm from, county, Saratoga County. In terms of attainability, some questions have been asked. Our average rent, our starting rents will be approximately, excuse me, $2,000. And we were asked, can people here in Wilton afford that? And the demographics tell us that, you know, that translates into $72,000 per household per year. And 65% of the households currently exceed that threshold in the town of Wilton. You know, I'd like to use just the last few minutes to speak to, you know, these are my words. Someone who spoke earlier read because he was nervous, and I get nervous too, so I'll probably read all of this, but it's short. I'd like to also use my time to talk about the mall owners' commitment, the number of people and man hours I've seen them devote to Wilton's success must be disproportionate to their other small regional assets. I've never seen someone for whom we're purchasing a site work so hard and devote so much of their human resources to effect a sale. And it's not about the modest proceeds from the sale of the apartment site. It has everything to do with turning the mall around. Thank you.
Hey, can I ask you a question in case I forget at the public hearing next month?
Yeah, sure.
When you've done other projects other parts of the country, what goes into the decision-making process to rent apartments or townhouses as opposed to, because I've seen the success that's happened in downtown Saratoga Springs with the sale of condominiums and townhouses. So what goes into the process of deciding whether you're going to do rental units or owned units?
Well, you know, from a design standpoint, they're similar. Condos tend to be bigger. I've developed condominiums, but we are apartment developers. It's a different animal. When you're doing condos, you have to like pre-sell. You know, these days, the whole freaking project, bankers are that tight with the...
Be careful, I'm a retired banker.
Yeah, I
know. But I do know my people.
Me too.
But from the town's standpoint, I've also, you know, done economic impact studies on the difference. We did a project in Delray Beach years ago, downtown Main Street project, and we looked at the economic impact of condominium, you know, high-end condominiums. You know, then they were, you know, $500,000 plus, but we're talking 20 years ago. What we found was that apartment tenants spend disproportionately. You know, these are people who make good incomes. You know, maybe they're not, you know, wealthy like the people who would have bought the $800,000 condominiums, but they're super active. You know, the buyer of that $800,000 condominium, you know, they're active for a while, and then they get sedentary, and they may even be, you know, in the case of Floridian snowbirds. You know, they're just seasonally. So their economic impact dwindles over time, whereas apartments, you know, the reality is we turn over 50% of our leases every year. So there's always, you know, a fresh crop of people, and you know, and this is a lifestyle choice. It's not inexpensive housing. It's not affordable housing. It's affordable to 65%, but these folks spend, and so we calculated that our tenants would be spending locally approximately $17 million in today's in today's money. You know, and Tom touched on the economic impact, the Des Moines study. You know, we did that Paramount in-house. I put my assistant Jason, who's a bright young man, on it, and I didn't believe the numbers. You know, if I was just looking at the the Des Moines thing, and I saw 368,000 economic impact a year to the town. You know, Jason brought a number, and it was maybe $15,000, $20,000 off that, but I didn't believe it. But I know that he talked to your comptroller and to the county comptroller, who walked him through the process, and I now know how the sales tax is divvied up here. The county collects 3%, and then they keep half of that, and Saratoga Springs, has their own, and then from that 1.5%, and the rest of it is divvied up amongst the municipalities based on the assessed value of your total tax base here. And so that's how you get to that extraordinary number, that 300, I don't know what we came up with. We came up with maybe 348 or whatever. It was a big number. And at the same time, those conversations Jason had with the comptrollers, and the sales tax revenue numbers from the state of New York, he learned that, coming out of COVID, 2021, all the retailers were hit badly, with sales tax, with sales, and thus sales tax. And so coming out of COVID, Saratoga Springs, they actually exceeded their projections by 50%. I think they led the state. Conversely, the town of Wilton's collections, that you got back, fell by $44,000.
34.
34? 34. Okay, but the point is they fell. Saratoga Springs grew by 50% and yours fell. And you pride yourself in not having ad valorem taxes. Admirable. But that's not, that trend's counter to that.
Where did you get that figure from, that theirs went up?
Oh, it's in the press as well.
Oh, it is?
Yeah, it's out there. I'll dig it up for you. But in any case, so, and as far as the school system, we did an analysis of the school system, an average single-family home, its impact on the school system. An average single-family home produces 1 school-aged children on average. A luxury apartment unit puts out 0.12 students per unit. And it said in the study 25 units, so I guess that's the math there. But
I figured 10.
That's a national. So, so the benefit to the school, is 7 to 8 times greater per student in school taxes paid. The economic impact of this is staggering.
I'm an agent. You guys all know me, I'm general manager of the mall, Mike. So this is actually an example of one of our leasing challenges. The Bowtie Cinema closed at the end of 2020, and it still has yet to reopen. But right now we have strong interest for this location from a new theater operator that's going to operate it not just as a theater, but other entertainment uses. And they're waiting to hear what's going to happen with residential to fully execute the lease. This is just an example of some of the leasing challenge we face with our mall right now without a catalyst for future growth. And we see residential as a catalyst for future growth. So over the course of time, in the last 10 years, the other economic decline that has occurred based largely on the decline of the department store industry and the leaving of national tenants, and we lost several national tenants during COVID, is the Wilton Mall assessed value has decreased by 76% over the last 10 years. If you look at the green line, that's the main mall parcel itself, and it has gone from $78 million to $18 million in the last 10 years.
The blue line kind of follows it because that includes the other tax parcels that are part of the total mall property, where it's gone from just under 100 million to below 40 million. So there's been a significant reduction in the mall's assessed value, and we'd like to see that turn around for not only for the benefit of the town and the benefit of the community. The next slide you see here is about the mixed-use evolution of the Wilton Mall. This is not new for us. Back in 2011 and 12, the former JCPenney anchor that was on the front side of the mall was converted to Healthy Living Market Grocery and Planet Fitness Gym. Fast forward to most recently, however, I'll touch on just in between, we landed Home Goods in the mall, which is not typically a mall retailer, and that we boxed up 6 spaces to make one for them. Fast forward to most recently, Saratoga Hospital has taken over the 82,000 square foot of the former Sears location that vacated in 2019. And they have their medical services there, including primary care, clinical care, as well as some IT and clerical that they brought from downtown to open up bed space for downtown Saratoga. As you view some of the renderings, this would be an example of what the view from the apartments would look like to the mall entrance right now that you all know as the DMV mall entrance with the Bonton removed. You can see the additional trees, additional green space that kind of goes along with it. So that's basically what we're proposing to do on that end of the mall. It's not clearing into the county or state forest. We're not cutting down any trees. We're basically developing a vacant building and asphalt into a much better looking space with gated residential apartment communities. The second thing was something that members of the planning board and Mr. Bogardus was asking on what we're going to do to reinvest on improvements into the mall. Well, we're talking about entryway improvements. You can see the existing up there. It still has the old sundial in there. It has some ugly green paint. Now you got white paint. You got landscaping beds throughout, and we would transition that for the 2 entrances immediately with the commitment to the grand opening of the apartments to commit to this work along with getting those apartments opened. So those 2 entrances would be the first we would touch. The other entrances still could be a part of the potential renovation of the mall, so we wouldn't touch them to begin with. You know, in addition to this, we're proposing a full power wash of the mall itself, and also upgrading all of our interior and exterior landscaping beds. The second is an example of the marketing material that we're utilizing with our leasing team right now to show what other possibilities were to be if we were to tear down and redevelop that entire wing of the mall. You now have a further view back from the apartments to the mall, where we would take that entire wing down, develop some pad sites that have out-facing, out-entryway retailers that, like the front of our mall, all of our mall tenants in the front are able to exit to the front to outside versus in the mall. We would create a strip scenario on this side of the mall doing the same thing. So this would be, if we have the interest of retailers and restaurants, which we do have some interest. And this is an example of the marketing materials that our leasing team is using right now as part of the master plan to attract and retain more dining, entertainment, and service and retail options. Lastly, this just shows...
When you mentioned the wing,
yep.
What portion of that are you referring to?
Okay, so right here you have the Bonton building. This is the remaining wing right here.
All right, so you would just flatten that right out?
We would flatten
Bonton,
it, provided we have...
The tentative interest.
The given is the Bontons coming down. We redo the front entryways, and we redo landscaping and things like that. So this is just an example of some of the marketing materials that our leasing crew is doing to market the property. This also shows where the townhome development would be, potential other pad sites for restaurant, possible short-stay hotel.
And the giant brown area.
That's Dick's Sporting Goods. If you know about Dick's Sporting Goods, they just opened their House of Sport in Latham. which includes, places to actually try stuff. So that is something that we're talking to Dick's Sporting Goods about, why not houses for it here? Okay. Some of the pylon and signing upgrades that would be completed if we were able to move to the second option where we tear the entire wing down and we need to have more pylon space. That's an example of that. Same with the Loudon Road entrance, so signing upgrades. Keep going, Jay. Next thing we want to talk about is a public benefit. In addition to preserving the community benefits the mall currently provides, such as the winter farmers market, the CBTA park and ride, police substation, and training site, mall walker venue, and RV show, we found another worthy cause that we would be proud to support. As another public benefit, we have found an opportunity to remove vested residential density from the market and at the same time also help preserve the Vincent family farm, which is 123 acres located just east of Route 9 and zoned R1. So this is a conceptual layout for residential subdivision on the Vinsec farm that meets current code. It illustrates that if a developer bought that farm from the Vinsecs, it could be replaced with approximately 228 single-family homes. These homes would have an exponentially greater impact on town services, schools, traffic, and the environment as compared to the farm and to the mall apartments. Farmland has been there since the 1700s and operated by the Vinsec family farm since 1920, and the farm is located in the prime residential and commercial area. The family wishes to continue operating as a farm, providing all the fresh local produce and family activities that they do day to day. Just a couple of examples of the pictures. However, to pass the torch on the next generation and protect the land from development pressures, assistance is needed. So Saratoga Plan, a local nonprofit agency, has a potential solution. The Vinsecs can sell their development rights and a forever farm conservation easement will be placed over their land. The 123-acre easement has been approved by the New York State Department of Ag and Markets, but only partially funded at $1 million. With a deadline looming, a title issue, and a funding shortfall of over $750,000, the farm needs help and the mall can provide that assistance while simultaneously providing a public benefit. With one action, we can forever preserve the family farm and all they do for the community and take a giant step towards reimagining and saving a dying suburban mall. Again, this is a redevelopment of existing property. It's not a new development, which we heard in the earlier presentations about solar, new developments coming to the town. This is a redevelopment of basically a concrete jungle, as they would say in New York City.
Thank you, Mike. So just very quickly, that's our presentation. We'd ask the board to follow through and schedule a public hearing and refer this over to the Saratoga County Planning Board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions?
I'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
I just have one quick suggestion. Sure. Just, everybody's aware that there's 5 equally voted members on this board. I haven't had a conversation or communication from your company in 2 years. So I don't know if everybody just thought I was a shoo-in. My husband's been spoken to, but I have not.
I apologize.
So this would be great to have heard this before the meeting and have conversations.
I thought about knocking on your door, to be honest with you, but I don't have your phone number, and I felt funny asking Dean for it.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Well, you got his number. But yeah, it'd be great before this so that I had time to digest and ask questions and help brainstorm for different ideas as well. Because we all have different ideas. What's that?
We're happy to still do that.
That'd be great.
Yep.
See you in the next month.
Yes.
You all set?
Yeah. I believe so. All right.
Somebody want to make a motion, set up a public hearing?
I'll make a motion. I'll second it.
Third.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. What is it?
October 5th, 7 p.m.
I'll also make a motion to make a referral to the Saratoga County Planning Board.
One second.
Second.
It's reviewable by them. I think I'd rather wait for the public hearing.
What?
Oh, it has to be done,
What?
to set it to the county
Yes.
for review. In order to set a public hearing?
No.
It's in conjunction.
They'll give us their 2 cents, just so we can weigh
I'd
it.
rather see what they think before the public hearing so we can weigh in.
And bring up
Second on
any
that?
questions or concerns that they have.
Yes, I did.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Supervisor Lyon, members of the board.
We got a resignation from Wilton Planning Board. You say that one, Sue? I can't get that last name.
Dave Catalfano?
Dave, he wants to resign, he's done a heck of a job, we need a motion to accept it.
I'll move to accept Mr. Catalfamo's resignation.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm sorry, who seconded that? Thank you. He's resigning from the planning board to join the zoning board. Or the zoning board,
That's carried. Resignation of zoning board, Sean Westcott.
Make a motion, accept.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Appointment Wilton Planning Board, Sean Westcott.
Make that motion.
Make a motion, appoint.
Alternate 9/7/23 to 12/31/23. We got a motion and a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Carried. This Daniel Provis Memorial Walk, Gavin Park, we'd like to waive the fee. There's something going on October 7th, 2023. We need a motion.
Make that motion.
I'll second.
I'm sorry, who made that motion?
Mr. McCackron.
And Aaron second? Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, I can't read.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Appointment to zoning board. Andrew Bobbitt, alternate from 9/7/23 to 12/31/23. Need a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, carried. Speed limit, the Oaks at Indian Springs.
Is that a
Discussion.
It is. It is.
So how many people are complaining? That
Just one.
I'm not sure if we should impact the whole community.
What's the speed limit now?
I don't think it can go any lower.
30.
It's 30.
Oh.
I mean,
Is that the lowest you can have a speed limit?
It's the area speed limit in the subdivision, it's 30.
I mean,
I called the sheriffs and troopers to go over there, but it's usually we tried to explain to them, it's usually the residents. People don't use that for a shortcut. It's residents.
Change the 3 to a 2?
it's tough to regulate a whole community for one complaint, one person's complaint. I mean, not degrading her complaint, but, I mean, if there's 50 houses and 49 people aren't concerned about the speed limit, it's unfair to regulate it.
I asked the sheriffs and troopers going in and patrol it, they said they would, but like I say, it's usually the neighbors that are doing that.
Come back with a petition or something.
I don't think there's any sense in sending a letter to state when they do that.
Well, you might as well, they're just gonna refuse it.
Well, it's 30 now, I think that's the lowest they go.
Yeah, by statute, that's as low as they can go. So.
Oh, well then, we don't need to.
Yeah.
It's more of the enforcement, like
Yep.
Supervisor stated.
All right.
Then he's on it. Thank you.
Committee reports. We had those concerts at Gavin Park last month. They were, I think, a huge success. Good turnouts. 3 of the nights it rained, and we had more people there than the night it didn't rain, so. But I thought it was nice. I think it's something maybe we should be thinking about for next year. I'd like to thank the staff at Gavin Park and Mike for his help with the lights there. They did a great job. We have a Narcon training Saturday, September 9th at Gavin Park from 10 to 2. These drug overdoses is really, I'm on the health committee in the county, they're really beginning to be very, very common. So if you got children, grandchildren, or neighbors, it'd probably be a good thing to go there and get training, because you never know what could happen to, but that's intended to this Saturday.
No, just this week alone, I do EMS, and I've been to 3 drug overdoses, even in the town of Wilton alone.
I just lost one today.
Just this week.
My cousin today, 42 years old.
Yep. One guy was 31 years old.
His mom's flying in from Indiana.
That's a shame. Major problem in our society. Saturday, September 16th, we're gonna have a bulk waste pickup. It'll be from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
What is bulk waste? Like TV, paint?
Everything is listed on the internet as to what they will take.
On the internet?
Is it a pickup or it's a drop-off?
We'll drop off. They will unload it for you.
Can I drop off like kids and family members?
Yep.
I think couches are...
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, I don't
We have a flyer out there. There should be some at the table.
I'm gonna start.
But it's at Gavin Park in the town hall. Just bring your stuff. That's what's to be dropped off.
And that was the 16th of...
16th of September from 9 to 1 p.m.
Something else was going on the 16th. Something else was going on the 16th.
That is this Saturday. Narcan is this Saturday.
Narcan's this Saturday.
10 to 2.
Bulk is next weekend.
And I don't have the date, but we're gonna have a leaf pickup of people bagging and put them on the curb. We have that Daniel Provis Memorial Walk Saturday, October 7th.
Mental health awareness.
And I see we always pushed, Ryan was a big help getting Ballard Road done with the county. I think they've done a heck of a job. It should be done, I would think, in a couple weeks.
Yes, a couple weeks should be done.
They've done a nice job doing Northern Pines Road, so I'd like maybe to send a letter to Chad Cook for his help. He's the director of the county public works, for his help for getting those 2 roads done. Katie Coons is our historical director.
She is our historian.
And Jeannie Waters was the chairwoman. She'd like to be that now. They have that title. Historical Society. Katie Coons.
Yeah. John, I gotta go.
Is that an appointment we make?
She just wanted, I said I'd bring it to the board, and she'd like to have me to be the liaison, so I'd like to see we get those 2 things approved.
Is there a motion needed?
I might imagine.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Anybody got anything? Controllers report. Maria?
Thank you, yes. So the first category, we have the 2023 budget transfers. We have a need to fund the other employee benefits, and we're going to do that by leveraging surplus money in the employee benefits medical reimbursement account. So 2 different accounts, the same fund, and that is our one budget transfer.
I'll make that motion.
Somebody a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The second category is our 2023 budget amendments. The first item is that we are recording the impact on the accounting system for the money that we've already received for the transfer of development rights for the Belmonte Forest Grove Picket Farm. So we're reporting income, and we've already deposited that money into the Park Reserve account for use for future spending for benefit of anybody who wants to use I should say for benefit of the Wilton Town residents who use the park. The second and third items in this category are related to each other. Therefore, the proposed town hall expansion. It is for the architectural and engineering services agreement that we are looking at with our town council for MJ Engineering. We are leveraging surplus money from our general fund and transferring it to the capital projects fund from which the money will be spent. And the last item in this category is to recognize an insurance recovery that we received for the dump body that was involved in an accident several months ago that we received. So we're going to use that, and so, in matter of fact, we already received the invoice. So we're going to use that insurance recovery to pay the invoice, equal amount of dollars, both on the revenue and expenditure side.
So we're gonna make a motion on those budget amendments.
I'll make a motion to approve the budget amendments.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The third item is our sales tax, the annual certification that the town board makes to the county to accept the sales tax either as a credit to the warrant or as a sales tax that we receive monthly, and we always take the money in cash. So that is what I'm recommending.
Why would anybody take a credit?
I don't know. You wait until the end of the year for, and our town relies on sales tax to pay the bills, so.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a motion for that.
So motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The fourth item is our escrow and surety bond agreements. The town has been working with our council to develop the agreement documents for the two solar projects that are moving forward with their project in terms of their decommissioning plan. So there's a decommissioning plan and an associated cost. The town is going to benefit from holding on to a form of money in the term of an escrow. So in one of those cases, we have actual money that we're going to collect from the solar property. We're going to keep it in an account that the town controls. At the end of the decommissioning period, which is 25 years, the town can either A, return that money to the solar company, or B, if the decommissioning plan does not succeed as planned, the town can use that money to decommission, essentially. And the way that those amounts are calculated is based on an estimate of what it would take to decommission. In 25 years, and there's an inflation rate applied, so we collect that money now.
In case inflation's like 30%.
Yeah, exactly, but we did not charge 30%.
And we don't count salvage value or anything, so it's just straight.
I probably won't be around for it.
Right.
Somebody wanna make a motion?
Speak for yourself.
Hey, you didn't speak for myself.
Got a second?
Be 86 years old.
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have to, or I'm going to, abstain, because when I read through the documents, it said that an escrow account would be set up at Saratoga National Bank, and in as much as I'm on the board of directors of the bank, I don't want there to be an appearance of impropriety there.
All right, thank you.
You're not going to hold the money now.
Got a motion, a second. All in favor? Carried.
Thank you. The fifth item is our annual certification for the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and that is just a HUD requirement that we sign off on, saying that any applicable civil rights requirements will be adhered to for our Section 8 housing program.
Need a motion?
So moved.
Second. Yep. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you. The sixth item on the flip side of the page is related to personnel. Julie Hotaling, our full-time deputy town clerk, has submitted her letter of resignation from her position effective September 18th of 2023.
I'll make a motion to accept Julie's resignation.
Second.
Or retirement, I should say.
A second.
Second.
Favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I'd like to get her a plaque too for all her years of service.
I like that.
Okay.
Thank you. The second item under personnel is that Susan Baldwin, our town clerk, is requesting to fill the full-time deputy town clerk position vacated by Julie Hotaling with Sandra Holcomb. Sandra is currently the part-time clerk in the town clerk's department, and if approved, Sandra would be assigned to the position at the step 1 hourly rate of $19.30.
I have one question before we go ahead with that. I know we had talked about a proposed new salary schedule for employees. I'm just wondering what the difference in the hourly rate is going to be between step 1 and 2 with the new proposed rate.
So the difference between step 1 and 2 is going to be, and I guess this is a question for me because this proposed 2024 schedule hasn't been reviewed by the board yet. So what we're doing is we're going to apply a rate increase to the base salaries for everyone. And then from there, we're going to apply the standard 2% and 3% cost of living and merit rates to that increase. So I'm not going to say a specific dollar amount, but it's going to increase everyone to a rate that was more than our typical increase.
Okay, my question is, what is the difference between step 1 and step 2?
So I don't have that information before me because it's related to a proposed salary increase that hasn't been reviewed by the board yet.
I was just reading ahead to C.
Yes.
So we're going to have a full-time deputy town clerk making $19.30, but a part-time part-time clerk at 19.
Yes. So the full-time position will also have a health insurance package that the person can decide whether or not they want the package in terms of health insurance or take a waiver. So whatever decision that person makes, that's up to them. So that's an additional increase. There's also $2,500 stipend applied to the full-time position.
If they choose not to take the health package, does that increase
Right, plus they get holidays off, plus they get holidays off, full-time employee.
I just find 30 cents, the raise is very low for the duties that she...
For now, for an employee who's been here for 5 months, yes.
Yeah.
So that can be adjusted if she does not accept health insurance?
If she does not accept health insurance, she will receive a waiver, yes.
The 2,500.
I'm sorry, 2,500 is a stipend on top of the waiver.
Is that prorated for the year?
No.
So
she's not going to receive $2,500 as a flat rate this year. This year she'll receive her
30 cents an hour more.
30 cents an hour, plus the portion of the $2,500 that applies from September through December 31st.
So it is prorated.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure recidivism has been important, and I know when Lisa left, making sure that we staff the town clerk's office accordingly, but also, and Sue already knows because we talked about it, when she decides to retire down the road, having someone that is in there who is familiar, who is aware, who has been hands-on to kind of easily, I don't know if it's an easy thing, but can slide in. I just want to make sure that we're paying that. And this is what we talked about last year after Lisa left, and we debated whether to hire another part-time person or not, or a full-time, and we were looking at longevity of the position, of the role in that office.
Right.
Just want to make sure that we're not shortchanging someone who is capable. And
absolutely.
We can't hang on to them. Mike, you're dealing with it in the highway department all the time.
Yeah.
We're getting outbid and outbought for talented people by other entities. So I just want to make sure that that's not...
This is $10.50 additionally, per week for the next 18 weeks. I'm struggling with it.
I believe that a reasonable person would say, my rate is going up 30 cents an hour, whatever.
Correct, but
however,
well, from our side to her side. Yes.
So in January, my increase, I'm being told on good faith that my increase will be more than what my department head is pushing for right now. Therefore, I'm going to stick it out because I know in January, which is just a few short months from now, my rate of pay will be even more than what my department head is pushing for at this moment.
Correct, but I was saying that, there is a huge budget surplus, not huge, but close to $4,000 through the end of the year with the different rates of pay for the deputies.
Are her roles and responsibilities increasing with the full-time more than...
and I know there's longevity on Julie's side, but still, there's almost $4,000 of a budget surplus.
I wish that I can conduct everything based on that methodology. I need to look at the town as a whole, and I'm looking at all of the clerks across the board. I have to look at everybody across the board. There's,
I just,
and in January, everybody's rate of pay is going up in a systematic approach that does not favor anybody.
and also, and she's not eligible for she'll be getting, along with everyone else, she'll be getting a salary increase due to the change in the step schedule, but she's not eligible for a raise because even though she was here in April, she was part-time, taking the full-time position in September makes her ineligible.
She's ineligible for an increase in step, however, she will get the raise.
Correct.
Have her roles and responsibilities increased?
Yes,
I mean, it's a quick calculation. At 30 cents is a 1.6% percentage raise, which seems, I don't know, and again, I'm not familiar with the internal operations of the clerk's department, but going from part-time to full-time, taking on the additional responsibilities, 1.5% doesn't seem like much.
I understand. I'm going to be presenting the board with the salary increase when I present the tentative budget to the board.
Okay.
The salary increase for step 1 and for step 2. You'll see the difference at that point. I'm telling you that she will be well enrolled.
Okay. So we can revisit this when we look at the budget? All right.
I saw the flagpole flicker. So how much money are we talking between now and the end of the year?
We are talking, so there'd be $256.37 per week surplus in my budget. For the 15 weeks, it's $3,845.55. These are approximate numbers. So it would be a 58-cent increase. So per week, it would be $31.50 if it went to $19.88.
I don't know if there's any basis to create a step 2 entry at this point with somebody who has 5 months of experience. I don't see it. And the fact that this employee is doing, from what I see, and I'm not in that department, so I don't see the moment by moment, but I do see employee is a strong employee who is going to serve the town well in her position, without a doubt. And that's why the position is being offered to her, the full-time, position is being offered in the first place.
My concern is just make sure we hang on to her.
I think...
Because someone told me to do more for 30 cents, I tell them to go scratch, to be honest. I would never do, I just wouldn't. I could go get another job and make more than that.
I'd give $1 back.
I just don't want it to be insulting, that we're moving someone from...
Do you propose that then, the step 2, if we were to go to 1988, and honestly, I'll have to say it again, that the point is not the 50 cents an hour difference. The point is going forward, how do we keep it fair to everyone? I need to look at all of the clerks and all of their positions and the people who have been here for years and what that impact would be on them. That's what my concern is, and I get it.
Oh, I get that too, and I'm still learning all this step stuff. So that's why I'm just asking a lot of questions.
And we have done it. We have done this in the past. We brought somebody in as a step 2. It was kind of by trial by fire. She was in there and she's done a great job.
Yeah, she absolutely has. So step 2, the other people that we've brought in at step 2, I have to say, is because they've had certifications and such that were more than people who we were looking at. To attract that level of talent with those certifications so that they can do more than the average MEL, let's say.
So, it was just witnessing past 2 weeks with Saratoga Springs putting up a sign that go to Wilton if you need a marriage license because we all have COVID, and what she has done there. It would have been nice to let me know, but yeah. Anyway. I've said my piece.
How long would someone typically have to be on the job to graduate, quote-unquote, from step 1 to step 2?
Usually people advance year by year. But they're hired at, they stay with. If they are hired in the first half of the year, they will graduate to the next step of the next January. If they're hired in the latter half of the year, they will stay at that step in the next year and then graduate the year after.
54. Since this seems to be a very emotional topic, what if we split the difference? I mean, she's not quite step 2, she's not quite step 1, but she's in between.
You know what bothers me about the whole quote-unquote government way of doing things is this methodology. You know, whereas in the private sector, you see somebody who's, knocking it out of the park and saying they could be here for a week, 10 years, 5 months. You say, look, and they don't even see it coming. And you say, you know what, we're going to give you a boost here because you're doing a hell of a good job. And that's, it's justified by performance, it's justified, economically, and so.
What do you think?
Is it possible because it's happening in the latter half of the year that we can still allow it come the first of the year to move to step 2? Or is that like a legislative thing?
I could say that would be a board decision, but again, the impact on the town as a whole, like everybody else in those positions, in the clerical position, we could revisit that. We could revisit that. We do have a evaluation system, which can be strengthened, but our evaluation system, the department head will evaluate the employee. If the employee passes the evaluation, the employee will earn the right to graduate to the next step. So if criteria were put into place that is specific to this employee, or we'd have to do it at the town level to make it fair to everybody. To say, everybody's going to pass their evaluation based on the same set of criteria, but this person's going to graduate another step higher than everybody else, might be problematic.
What are we gonna do, folks?
I thought solar arrays was tough.
Yeah, it's tough.
So we have people who come in off the street, and you mentioned that there may be some special, education experience, background requirements. We do take people off the street at step 2.
Right.
Yes, we do.
So,
If they got qualifications.
yeah, I don't know, to me it doesn't seem, we've got, how long ago did Sandra come to work for us?
She was here in April.
5 months or so.
Yeah, I know. Because even when you hire somebody and put them into the second step, when you hire them, until they get here, you really don't know what they're going to do or how they're going to perform. So we have somebody that is performing well. We already know they're performing well. I'd be inclined to just go to step 2.
I just want to make sure we keep her here. So we're not going back to the drawing board again.
Well, let's invest in our future.
I'll make that in the form of a motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'm opposed. Motion carries.
Thank you. The third item is that Susan Baldwin would like to hire a part-timer to take Sandra Holcomb's place at the rate of $19 an hour.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Favor?
She does.
Aye.
I feel as though we don't need 3 people in that office, but I will support it to save peace in that office in this building. Any opposed? Carried.
Okay, thank you. And the last item is asset disposal. Michael Monroe, who is our highway superintendent, is requesting to sell miscellaneous surplus equipment on Auctions International. And those items include weed whackers, mower, truck tires, tamper, motor, filter, and bandsaw.
I make a motion to approve the highway superintendent going to Auctions International, this list of stuff.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Steve, I'm gonna go back. I meant to grab you in the committee thing. Tony, I've contacted the railroad, and they don't want nobody on that property. But you could contact DOT and come up with a proposal and maybe, but it's a lengthy and expensive proposal. But if you and Tony like to co-chair a committee, we'd be more than happy to let you do it and do a lot of research for us.
I'd be happy to do it.
Okay?
And I know the railroad's very particular.
They don't want people on that property, I know that.
I know, that's
We've had
the insight I got.
two fatalities this year on the railroad.
DOT at Bridge Bank shares how difficult they are.
I mean, I would love to see that connector somehow.
I saw the survey crews out next to the rail bridge on Jones Road day before yesterday. You've got yellow and red flags going up through there where they're intending to cut in the service road right there next to the track.
That's because they have to redesign the whole thing from when we met with them a few weeks ago.
So they've been in there, and they're already beginning this process, so.
But if you two would like to look into it, be happy to have you do it for us. And
appreciate it.
all right. Anybody got anything else?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
These yours? Look like your other ones.
They go well with your shirt.